Hello. Are we back? Oh, I'd kind of forgotten how to do this. Actually, maybe it's been so long since I've seen you in real time. But it is Security Weekly News. It's episode 396. I'm Doug White, and it is the week of 7 July 2024. We've got Zotac, Eldorado, Donex, Qlins, or Qlins, I don't know how you say that, Ticketmaster, AI, physical security, Aaran Leyland, and more on this edition of the Security Weekly News.
This is a Security Weekly production for security professionals by security professionals. Please visit securityweekly.com/subscribe to subscribe to all the shows on our network.
It's the show that keeps you up to date on the latest security news twice a week. Your trusted source for accurate security information and expert analysis. It's time for the Security Weekly News.
Application Security Weekly delivers interviews and news from the worlds of AppSec, DevOps, and all the other ways people find and fix software flaws. Join us as we explore how the latest news highlights modern security practices or reminds us of the missing ones. We also bring insights from interviews on topics from training to threat modeling, from open source tools to cloud-native techniques, plus an occasional reference from new wave to synthwave. Find us at securityweekly.com/subscribe or look for Application Security Weekly wherever you pick your podcasts.
All right, from exile on the island of Elba, it's the Security Weekly News. I'm Doug White, and welcome back to the show. I hope you were watching the whole time I was gone. Don't forget to hit like and subscribe on your favorite platform, or a couple of people may have to pay you a little visit, if you know what I mean. I did return from Finland, which is very nice, by the way, even in the summer, although it's apparently nice in the winter too, if that depends on your definition of nice. But all the holidays are over, and for now anyway, and hopefully if you live in the U.S., you still have all your fingers from the 4th of July, which if you don't live in the U.S. is a drinking and gunpowder-based holiday, which sounds like a party. What could go wrong? All right. So Zotac is not a drug. It sounds like a drug, but it's not. If you're from, I mean, you're probably familiar with it. But Zotac's a computer hardware manufacturer, and they exposed a bunch of RMA requests on the internet, and they exposed documents along with that for some, as by their definition, an unknown period of time. Which apparently these documents in turn expose sensitive customer data on the open internet. This particular breach, it was due to inadequate permissions, which would have restricted access to authorized Zotac employees, but they didn't have any permission restriction. And they also didn't have a robot.txt file, which would have prevented all this material getting indexed by Google search bots or spiders or whatever they call those these days. And so if you search for customer names or company names with the zotacusa.com parameter on it, it revealed invoices, addresses, requests, contact info, etc. Now, I just bring this up because I mean breaches are so common, and it's not that like earth-shattering news that there was a breach, but we all get sloppy, right? I mean, all of us that have built web servers and websites over the last what going on now 30 years, we've all been sloppy at times. And I mean, remember the old wild, wild west web, when it first got started and people couldn't get their web servers up and running and they just went in and typed chmod 777 star, then their web server started working and they went, excellent. And, we'll look at that later, but get the web server online. Yeah, I mean, it's really that kind of stuff again. And I mean, it's really, really easy today to put up a website, and it's really, really hard work to secure it. And you may have people in your enterprise who are putting up websites. You may have your own websites who have people modifying it, adding to it, taking away from it, or whatever. And it eventually somebody's going to type chmod 777 star. I mean, they will. I mean, just because it doesn't work and they want to get it. We see this in networking where people turn the firewall off and they mean to turn it back on later, but they just leave it off. And when they turn it on, everything stops. And then they say, turn it back on, turn it back on. So one of the I guess this article to me for you brings up schedule a checkup and review your web postures today. I mean, before some 12-year-old kid is extorting money from the CEO for those security videos they were able to download off the Office party last year. And I'm not even making that up. I actually did that response where it wasn't a CEO, but it was a person in an organization, and somebody was extorting them because they had just accessed this stuff that was on their private web server. Yeah, it wasn't so private. A little directory traversal and Bob's your uncle. Well, Eldorado is not just one of my favorite buildings in New York. If you've ever, it's just one of my favorites. It's over on Central Park West. It's very cool, and you've probably seen it in a movie or a TV show or something. It's just that big, ominous-looking thing with two towers and very creepy. But it's also a ransomware, and a brand new one actually, and it's a ransomware as a service model that just came out. It first surfaced in March, and it has variants for Windows, Linux, and VMware ESXi. Ugh. 16 victims are now being claimed so far by the developers on their posting site. Group IB's been monitoring the group, and they said they were promoting this service on Ramp forums, and they were trying to hire affiliates. The modern age is so interesting to me. It's like if the mafia had a website, right? And they're like, we need some hitmen, some enforcers, get made now, that kind of stuff. Yeah. I mean, I wonder if they need a consultant. I mean, they probably pay pretty good, right? I mean, ransomware is like big money. Maybe I should send them my resume, but it's been a little slow this year on the legit side. So, who knows? But Eldorado, anyway, is a Go-based ransomware, and it can encrypt Windows, Linux, ESXi. As I said, Group IB said it was unique and that it did not rely on previously published sources, which means it may be difficult to detect by some of your anti-malware stuff. The algorithm's based on the Cha-Cha-20 encryption, and it uses a unique 32-byte key and a 12-byte nonce for each locked file. So I wonder how fast it runs, but I guess that would be reasonably fast, but that's a pretty big, yeah. But the keys and the nonces then get encrypted using RSA optimal asymmetric encryption padding. Wow. These guys do know their security, right? If we did this kind of stuff with our own keys, we'd be a lot better off. But after the encryption, the files all are appended with .000000001, so seven zeros and a one. And there's a ransom note that is named how return your data.txt. And that's dropped in the documents and desktop folders. It might be a good day to go visit those offsite backup copies you have in the salt mine. You have those, right? And ensure your multi-factor is working properly. Not to mention maybe your endpoint detection and so forth, because I mean, this is a new thing. It's a ransomware as a service, which means anybody can subscribe and use it. I mean, but at the very least, always remind your people about downloading things, clicking links, and talking to guys named Bob who are offering to help clean your system remotely. I mean, it sounds almost facetious when I say those things, but it's not. And as you'll see in some of these other stories, this is a huge problem, and it's coming soon to a theater near you. So be ready. Donex ransomware then has been decoded and decrypted, and there isn't a Avast decryptor for it, although you can't get it unless you pay Avast. Thanks, guys. But Donex, Muse, Dark Race, Fake Lockbit 3.0 are all names for this family of ransomwares that's been around since April of 2022. The group has mostly targeted business in the US, Italy, and Belgium. That was per Avast. Donex is the latest iteration of the malware, and it was first seen in March of this year. A vulnerability in the crypto was found by Avast earlier this year, and that allowed the development of a decryptor, which they've been providing to their customers since March. But they apparently have now published a tool publicly because there was a presentation by the Dutch police at Recon 2024, and that described how the Dutch National Police reverse engineered Donex and decrypted the files. The Dutch police said at the presentation they would provide their decryptor on no more ransom, but apparently it was not available as of yesterday. So they I guess planning to do it, but public service organizations aren't able to just post stuff wantonly. They have to probably go through channels. So if you're dealing with this, there is a decryptor, and getting it from Avast is probably cheaper than paying a ransom, but maybe if the Dutch police will give it to you for free if you contact them. Maybe Avast will. Avast has said they're releasing it, so it may be available for free now after it got disclosed. And since we're on this anyway, so this was sort of my backing information. This report showed that more than 4,000 new victims of ransomware were recorded over the last year. Research by the Orange Cyber Defense said that there was a 77% year-on-year growth from 2023, and more than 4,374 new victims were detected in 75% of the countries monitored. Wow. Now, in the first quarter of 2024, so that's January through March, there were 1,046 victims hit by 42 different threat actors. And this is just what was reported. I mean, I think that's probably one of the big things that we have to keep in mind is that these reports aren't, not everybody's reporting this stuff. Some people just pay the ransoms that go on. Some people just, restore from backup and wipe everything and salt the earth and get running again. And they don't bother calling the FBI or whoever you report this stuff to. But a presentation last week in Antwerp for the Sci Explorer 2024 report said that they were recording the victims by monitoring leak sites. So this may be more accurate than other reporting mechanisms. They went on and said that targeting is mainly done by, typical criminal behavior. You don't try to rob the guy with 2 rabid pit bulls and a machine gun when me and Lou are in a drinking gin in an alley and you could just rob us instead. What? No, take my wallet. Oh, I don't know. I was like, just don't take the gin. But the report said that they were targeting, of course, the most vulnerable. Wow, what a revelation. But they said they targeted people who didn't have good cyber hygiene and best practices and who did not train their users very well. Imagine that. I mean, I'm not criticizing them for reporting this because it's the absolute truth. So, you wouldn't send an unarmed teen out with all the company cash in a cardboard box marked money. But for some reason, cyber hygiene, and you all know this very well, cyber hygiene isn't considered the same way when you take it to the board or the C-suite. They look at you funny and go, "Can we? No, we don't need that." But the report does go on and say the small organizations don't have the budget and are likely more vulnerable. Don't do training, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. All stuff that if you're a consultant, you've heard from small businesses. Like, what can you give me for $50 and some old Subway tokens? And there's this picture of I got out of a magazine. The research also reported more than 200 occurrences of re-victimization, with 39 of these already in Q1 2024. I mean, and again, in physical crime, every night you send the person out to the night drop with a cardboard box of cash or even one of those nice bank drop bags or whatever, and they get robbed and you don't change anything about your behavior. The next night, 10 p.m., out they go again. Guess what? You get robbed again because the guy goes, wow, we robbed these guys last month and we got away with the money and maybe we'll go do it again. I mean, really, I had a friend who kept getting robbed in New York and asked me about it and said, why do I keep getting mugged? And I said, I'll walk with you. We'll see what you're doing. And, when they got out of a cab, they had all their cash in their hand. They didn't just pull out the cash, the cab, if I got out of a cab back then, I had my cab fare in my shirt pocket. I already had it there. I didn't take my wallet out and pull out a wad of money. Not that I had a wad of money, but this person had, a whole bunch of like $20 bills and pulls them all out and is waving, and I'm like, are you kidding me? And of course, somebody walking by goes, whoa, look at that. That person's got $100. I could use $100. Okay. And of course, one time this person got robbed because while they were holding the money in their hand, the person just walked up, grabbed it out of their foot, yoinks, and ran away, and it's like, come on. So look, they are coming for you. Small companies, large companies, medium-sized companies, rich companies, poor companies, they are coming for you. This is profitable. They're going to keep doing it until it's not profitable anymore. Thieves don't care that you're a startup and you're just about to lose it. They don't. Thieves don't care you're a hospital. So you best get ready and paranoid and cynical like a New Yorker walking home in 1979. Seriously. And just to make that point, this other article said that around 1,500 medical procedures had now been canceled across London's biggest hospitals in the 4 weeks since Qlins ransomware attack hit pathology services provider Synovus. And remember, all these hospitals and healthcare all over the world, no matter if you're in London or not, are all hooked together. They all have the same software. They all, share information. They've got doctors' offices. They've got surgical practices. They've all linked into the same thing. This particular story was a really sad story about this person called Hannah who had to cancel a breast cancer surgery that would have allowed a more sophisticated technique to basically preserve and allow plastic surgery and all this stuff. But unfortunately, because of all this, they had to cancel this and do just a simple procedure, which is called a mastectomy, which is where they just lop everything off. And that's an old-fashioned approach. But this giant ransomware attack had crippled the hospital system, and the blood reserves are running low in London after all these attacks. There's not going to be any mercy from these attackers as long as money's involved. They're going to target you, and like I already said, you need to be ready, whether you're healthcare or not. It's always, to me, the same thing. The C-suite people are like, well, yeah, they hit the healthcare industry, but they're not going to hit us. We make pipes. And I'm like, really? You really going to go with that? But I mean, we've been saying this for years, and but you don't want to be the person writing those letters saying how sorry you are, how unfortunate it is that this all happened. Now you're going to provide me 1 year of identity management subscription services because you're so sorry. And, especially when you're doing that for people who are in life-threatening situations. I mean, that's just wrong. Speaking of that, Ticketmaster, everybody loves those guys. They said that there is no risk to its system following hackers who are claiming to have stolen ticket barcodes for, wait for it, Taylor Swift concert dates. Like the most coveted for whatever reason. I don't, I'm sort of neutral on Taylor Swift, but you know, expensive coveted tickets. I mean, in the old days, you could rob Fort Knox for gold bars, and that was supposed to be a lot of money. And people say you rob Fort Knox, but have you seen what a ticket to Taylor Swift concert sell for? It's like crazy. So, I mean, more power to you, Taylor Swift. I wish you'd share some of that money with me, but, whatever. But Ticketmaster said there was no risk of any tickets being stolen or counterfeited, and that the barcode system they have had safeguards in place that would make this type of theft virtually impossible. And that system's called SafeTix. Side note, I literally just got a letter from Ticketmaster notifying me that a breach, not related to this, but a breach had resulted in all my personal data and credit card information being stolen. And they advised me, of course, to, cancel all my credit cards and do the same stuff you get advised every single time you get breached. But then they are providing me with a free year of identity management services, which will bring my total years of identity management now up to about 87, I think. H4K Manic is an account on Twitter that tweeted that hackers had breached the company, the Ticketmaster ticket system, and pilfered 170,000 barcodes, which would allow access to Taylor Swift concerts. Now, of course, this is a hacker tweeting on Twitter, so, that must be true. But the Post went on and claimed that they have access to millions of these barcodes that would allow access to various other concerts, and demanded a ransom of $2 million. Ticketmaster said, I don't think so, and said that they did not negotiate with hackers and so forth. Of course, they also said they would protect my data, but they didn't. So, not that I'm bitter or anything. I mean, they could send me some free Taylor Swift tickets, I guess. But everyone already has my data anyway. You know that when you go through Russian customs and the agent says, hi, Doug, how's your cat doing? Okay, now? Oh, and your bank balance is kind of low, right? Anyway, other reports of scalpers tampering with barcodes in Ticketmaster also apparently exist. And 404 Media reported that a lawsuit in California is claiming that resellers have reverse engineered the barcode system and created a workaround to the protections that limit resale. I mean, the current protections mean you can only sell tickets on Ticketmaster and I guess Live Nation. But as it is, they said they have a workaround which would let you scalp tickets. I mean, that would let people buy up all those legitimate tickets on Ticketmaster and then resell them on other wackier websites for ridiculous amounts of money. Kind of like when I bought those 2 Springsteen tickets in that alley off 8th Avenue. And when I showed up in Madison Square Gardens, they were like, these aren't real tickets. Yeah. I mean, I was down there looking for Aaron anyway. I mean, it was like, who else would I be looking for in an alley off 8th Avenue? And this other one, this is about physical security. And I used to do that as an auditor and go in and look at threats and what did I see. And the story that I put up for you is kind of targeted at end users, which is fine. And I think you should share it with them. But it provides a list of things you might want to have from a technology perspective in an emergency. And this was like earthquakes, fire, famine, flood, rains of toads, all that kind of stuff. But it's definitely something for individuals to consider. And I think, we should be considering that more because we're so dependent on our phones. I mean, I don't even know if I could have found my way back from where I was staying in Finland to the city without my phone. So it's something to keep in mind. But enterprises need to be considering this as well. I mean, how much does your response plan rely on something like, say, cell phones? I mean, a lot of response plans we were looking at had lists of who to call. It was like step 1, call legal. Step 1, call the CEO. And back then, they were, there was a threat because what if your landline is down? How do you call these people? And we always ask, because I usually said the phone is out. Now what? And a lot of times they would say, oh, we have a brick cell, these giant brick cell phones over there in a filing cabinet we can use. And we have these, walkie talkies or whatever. Okay. But what if the cell service is out now? Do you even landline, bro? I mean, or is your entire grid based on VoIP? Would it work? So do you have backup phones or radios or what? I mean, as tech people, I think we're either of the sort of ultimate survival types like Larry, who would be perfectly at home in the zombie with rabies apocalypse, happily making knives and skinning elks and so forth. But or are you more like me, who wouldn't last 10 minutes in the wild if the champagne ran out? I mean, me and a couple of friends just about went feral when they didn't have Tanqueray at the bar one time. But I mean, do you have backup laptops and phones? And are those, are you have like Starlink or something kind of service so that when your internet is down? I mean, I had a client once who said should be fine. And then, Katrina happened and their storage vault with their backup laptops and stuff was literally underwater. I mean, you probably have backup generators too, but how long will they run? Are you going to run out of power? Have you checked the fuel supply lately? And then your phones go dead because you don't have enough power to charge them. So maybe some chargers or batteries or something. I mean, but likewise, one of the things I noticed a lot was when they had a plan, but when we reviewed it, it was really, really bad out of date. So this article talks about putting all the apps you need, like for survival, like mapping and all this stuff on your current phone, just so they're already there, and that kind of thing. So maybe that backup phone in the storage locker that you're planning to use in the event of something really bad happening is a little bit old, and your plan says use the app to communicate securely in an emergency, and your phone is dead from water damage, and you pull out that old flip phone or that Motorola Razr or something that you stashed in there like 20 years ago. Yeah, well, you know how that ends. So very soon, maybe today, you should review your physical plans and you should test them. You don't even know how many times people, we have a review, and it was signed off, quarterly review. And then I said, do you test these plans? And they're like, yeah, sometimes. And then we went to test them and found out that, yeah, it was really, really bad. So it's really easy to say that. And then, we all go out and get our 800 megahertz radios since our phones are out, which I did. This was a real one too. And you find out the 800 megahertz radios, which have been sitting on a shelf for 4 years, have all corroded because the battery's corroded and they don't work any longer, and you don't have the right batteries. And even if you had them, they're all corroded, and you don't have any sandpaper so you can sand off the connectors. You don't have any chargers, the power. Yeah, exactly. So think about it, really. I mean, once it's happening, it's really, really too late. I mean, when the floodwaters are pouring into the basement, it's really too late. Really. Well, tramps like us, baby, we were born to run. And my favorite tramp is Aaran Leyland. Hi, Aaran. Welcome back.
Hey, Dr. Doug. Welcome back to you. How's your travels been?
Very nice. Yeah, you've been here since me, but yeah, we had a good time. And for once, we didn't have massive air travel problems. So, yay.
Yeah, at least there was no Russian spoofing of the GPSs. And
well, yeah, we were kind of standing there in Helsinki thinking, if we could actually probably get a bicycle and ride to the Russian border from here. But it was fine.
And they've kind of got a bit of beef with Finland over NATO and stuff recently.
Yeah, but I didn't really see them attacking a NATO ally at this point. I mean, they got enough problems, so I figured if they're going to attack somebody, they'll attack some non-NATO ally and just deal with that. And they've got their own problems in the Ukraine already. You really want to start a two-front war? Yeah, maybe not.
Right. Anyway, that segue is straight into my article. New APT group Cloud Sorcerer targets Russian government entities. Cloud Sorcerer, a new and previously unknown group of persistent attackers, has been seen using cloud services to control and steal data from Russian government targets. I really don't have to echo my thoughts on this, so I'll leave it up to your imagination. But the reason I'm talking about it today is that I like how comprehensive the write-up is by the devil, maybe joking. Anyhow, the write-up by Kaspersky is really nice, and if you're interested in APT hacking, and if everything you read is nearly true, including what is coming out of the NATO conference today, then we should all be very well read on nation-state type hacking, tactics, techniques, and procedures. So, saying all that, the link is in the show notes. Just Google Security Weekly News, click on the SC Media webpage, and like magic, sorcerer magic, it should be there. You can also find our back episodes, and if you require more of Doug, Josh, and me, that's where you'll find it. You'll also see our pretty faces because I think they put the YouTube videos there. Anyway, I'll move on because I'm a chatty thing today like Doug. Okay, cybersecurity firm Kaspersky, which discovered the activity in May 2024, said the tradecraft adopted by the threat actor bears similarities with that of Cloud Wizard, but pointed out the differences in the malware source code. The attacks wield an innovative, they say, data gathering program and a slew of evasion tactics for covering its tracks. Pretty cool. Okay, the Russian security vendor, Kaspersky, stated it's a sophisticated cyber espionage tool used for stealth monitoring, data collection. Well, not that stealth if they find it. But anyway, and infiltration via Microsoft Graph, Yandex Cloud, and Dropbox Cloud infrastructure. So the malware leverages cloud resources, and its command and control C2 servers, accessing them through APIs. Ooh, it's like the Wild Wild West, using authentication tokens. Additionally, Cloud Sorcerer uses GitHub as its initial C2 server. Okay, they tell us that the initial access is exploited to drop a C-based portable executable binary. Okay, APT type stuff, because people use higher level languages when they're sort of not throwing loads of money in sort of dev time at it. But anyway, that's used as a backdoor to initiate C2 communications, or it injects shellcode into other legitimate processes based on the process in which it is executed. So they named some mspaint.exe, msiexec.exe, or contains the string browser. Okay, as a lot of you will know, maybe from your training, this common tactic, which many of us using notepad.exe, which notably after 40 years has spell check. Go Microsoft, us neurodivergents salute you. Okay, anyway, the backdoor component is designed to collect information about the victim machine and retrieve instructions to enumerate files and folders, execute shell commands, perform file operations, and run additional payloads. All standard stuff, really. The C2 module, for its part, connects to a GitHub page that acts as a dead drop resolver to fetch an encoded hex string pointing to an actual server hosted on Microsoft Graph or Yandex Cloud. Now, that is really sounding very APT to me. So anyway, alternatively, instead of connecting to GitHub, Cloud Sorcerer also tries to get the same data from my.mail.ru, which is it's sort of social media, Russian cloud-based photo hosting type thing. So they say, Kaspersky says, the name of the photo album contains the same hex string. Load of secret command and control stuff going on there. Okay, as we see here, the hackers are using things that look familiar to the prey, hiding in plain sight, if you will. Okay, Kaspersky also stated the Cloud Sorcerer malware represents a sophisticated toolset targeting Russian government entities. Its use of cloud services such as Microsoft Graph, Yandex Cloud, and Dropbox for C2 infrastructure, along with GitHub for initial C2 communications, demonstrates a well-planned approach to cyber espionage. Okay, to me, this highlights the type of teams and the type of targets they are after. Some teams may use bespoke infrastructure, and these teams, to me, might be the very low and slow teams. Then some, which are noisier, nearly smash and grab, very well, I might add, in the noise of what's familiar to us. A phrase that always resonates with me is finding the familiar in the unfamiliar and the unfamiliar in the familiar. I think anybody that does DFIR, that's going to resonate, right? Okay, nearly finished. As I stated in the article, the Hacker News has an update, although weirdly, I drew a blank at further research on this, so you're going to have to believe them on that. Enterprise security firm Proofpoint said it detected a cyber campaign targeting an unnamed US-based organization mirroring the tactics of Cloud Sorcerer. It's tracking the activity under the moniker of UNK, I take that's unknown, arbitrary acrobat. The attack observed same time here in late May 2024. It's said they have used free mail account impersonating a well-known US think tank and leveraged a fake event invitation as a lure to trick recipients into downloading a zip archive file hosted on acrobat-inst.com. Okay, if the zip file is downloaded and opened, a user is presented with a folder and 3 LNK files, all of which can be used to start the chain of malicious activity. That's what they said anyway. So The LNKs will either launch either the PDF or a Word document, embed it in the folder, then rename various components in the folder to new names, and then launch an embedded executable file, which is named as cache.temp. The load it process subsequently reaches out to GitHub or TechNet profiles to fetch, here we go again, a hex style blob, and then starts and ends with the same byte pattern, which in quotes here is capital CDOY. And this matches observations made by Kaspersky. Aha, so there you go. If this whets your appetite, head over to the link and have a look. Fingers crossed it's not a watering hole and I am a vision in the desert directing you. There really is comprehensive details, including indicators of compromise and MITRE attack mapping in the article, and answers on a postcard to which famous and beautiful hack a decade, 15 years ago, made LNK files famous. I bet Dr. Doug knows. Thanks for listening. Peace out, party people.
Thank you, Aaron. Yeah, I remember those.
Stuxnet. It was Stuxnet. Stuxnet.
Well, no, I know it was Stuxnet, but I was trying to think of the name of the post. There was a postcard involved in that attack too, right? What was on the postcard? That was what I was trying to think of. I mean, what was actually on was the name of the LNK file or something? What was the name of it?
I would love people to comment on the bottom of YouTube.
Well, I'm sure somebody will comment on the bottom of YouTube and tell us what it was called. Anyway, all right. And finally, thanks, Aaron. AI, love it, hate it. Well, it's here, and it's going to infect everything on Earth shortly if it hasn't already. But OpenAI announced that their Mac desktop app for ChatGPT, which was broadly introduced a few weeks ago with great fanfare and trumpets and, elephants and all kinds of stuff, basically had a problem. This story that I put up said that the app had a bit of an issue, and what was going on was the user chats, this is you interacting with ChatGPT, were being stored in plain text where anyone or anything could grab them if they had access to the local machine. And initially my reaction was, okay, so what? It's my machine, who cares? But think about it, and I'll get to that. But apparently the OpenAI ChatGPT app on Mac OS is not sandboxed either. So it's just running in an open environment, and it stores all your conversations in this plain text in a non-protected location, which means that any other app that you've installed could harvest the chats. Now, you may say, well, what do I talk to OpenAI about anyway? But maybe you talk to it about the stock market or who knows what. So it could be a problem. OpenAI said they have updated the app and that local chats are now encrypted, but they're still not sandboxed, which means something could still maybe access them. In fact, the app is not even available on the Apple App Store because it doesn't meet the strict Apple security requirements. So as ever, and my point with this article, you really may want to warn people in your organization about just installing cool things that they hear about, because a lot of people ran out and installed this stuff when they hear about it. And of course, it can affect you, not just them, because if their poor hygiene spills over into your good hygiene, like that case of scabies you caught in that club off Houston Street. Yeah, that. Well, I don't know if AI is going to save us or destroy us all, or just make us all destroy ourselves trying to download the latest updated AI screwdriver app. But AI-enabled ice cubes, everything's coming soon to someplace near you. But I think cautioning your people once again, be careful what you download and install on your phones, on your computers, etc., because that stuff can affect your enterprise. It can affect you personally. And as we see here, they're not necessarily taking good security practice into account when they put this stuff together. Well, I'm glad to be back, sort of. I kind of like being in Finland too, except for that whole thing, with Russia just over across the border there. But thanks, Aaron, and that is the news. Thank you for being back, and I will see you next time on the Security Weekly News.